Hey friends, we are trying to read Zane and the Hurricane. We're finishing at chapter 9 and we're going to see how far we can get, maybe chapter 10 and 11. Okay, so here we go. Let's get started. Mr. Carmody, the gym teacher, made us hang on a bar and see how many chin-ups we could do. I could barely do one. So I made some joke about the whole thing was lame and refused to try it again. Mr. Carmody, he shrugged and said, "It's up to you, Zane. I can't make you stronger, but you can if you put a little effort into it." I never did put a little effort into it. What was the point? To be ready in case a flood chases you into your great-grandmother's attic in New Orleans? No way. Stuff like that never happens. Except it did. And now I have to do a chin-up because my life depends on it. No choice but to grab hold of a rafter and pull myself into the attic to escape from the rising water. Go on. Do it. Now or never. Chin up or drown. Your choice. My whole body is shaking, a kind of heart-slamming weakness that makes it hard to stand up without my knees knocking, let alone hoist myself into an attic. But on the very first try, I pull myself through the opening, no problem. I lie there in the attic, sweating like a pig, with the rafters poking me in the back and Bandy happily licking my face. Amazing. Apparently, being afraid to die makes you strong, or at least able to do one very important chin-up. My eyes gradually adjust to the dimness. The attic is hot as an oven and really small. In the center, where the roof peaks, there's barely enough room for me to turn over and crawl. Except for the few boards near the center of the attic, there's no floor over the rafters. Slip and your knees will go straight through the ceiling, just like in the cartoons. Bandy barks at the opening. I peek over the edge into the hallway before I see something so amazing and so awful that despite the terrible heat, a chill goes through me. The water is still swirling into the house, still rising. Another few feet and it will pour into the attic. We're trapped, me and Bandy. Trapped in the attic with no way out. No way to get out. Then I remember something Grammy said when she was telling me the story about escaping the flood. Henry brung him a little hatchet in case we had to chop through the roof. Too bad I didn't think of that. Not that I'd ever seen a hatchet around the house, but what if they left it up in the attic for the next storm? What if the hatchet has been lying in the dark all those years, waiting for me to find it? I scramble over the rafters, searching for the hatchet. Chapter 10. A face in the window. Crawling over the rafters on my belly, I run my fingertips into every dark corner of the attic, willing the hatchet to be there, wanting it so much I can almost feel the weight of the handle and the heft of the blade. Wanting doesn't make it so. My desperate fingers only find dust and splinters. Meanwhile, underneath us, the house shifts like a weary old wrestler fighting to stay in one place, timbers moaning as the water presses from all sides. Every now and then something heavy bumps into the side of the house and everything shudders. I'm worried the old building will twist off the foundation and tip over, drowning us for sure. But the house doesn't tip over, and despite the gurgling splashes from below, the water hasn't come up from the attic. Not quite. It gets within a foot of the opening, close enough to reach out and touch. And then it pauses, as if to decide whether or not to swallow us in one big gulp. Don't know how long I'm lying there and staring at the water level, but it feels like hours. Long enough to think about all the things I've done wrong lately. Flying down to Smellyville in the first place, that was a mistake right there. Only if I never came down, I never would have met my great-grandmother or heard her stories about the old days or seen the pictures of my father when he was my age. Him and his little brother that ran around with bath towels for capes pretending to be Superman. And hearing Grammy sing like an angel. That was pretty cool. Her fussing over me and everything. But where did it get me? All that stupid family stuff. Trapped in an attic. That's where. And then, of course, the stupidest mistake of all. Letting Bandy jump out of the van window. I should have been holding him tight. Dogs jump out of car windows all the time. I knew that. What was I thinking? And leaving Grammy stuck in the evacuation traffic without even saying goodbye, that was a really terrible thing to do. So terrible I can't stand to think about it. But there's no way to stop my brain from going over and over and over again. And every mistake, every stupid thing I've ever done or said, my brain won't shut up. It just keeps going. Zane Dupree, you are a fool. You are the dumbest human being on planet Earth. You left your cell phone in the van and ran away to save your stupid dog, and you can't even save your own stupid self. What were you thinking? Now look what you've done. Crawled up into an attic to die like some drowned rat. You haven't even got so much as a candy bar in your pocket, no water to drink, and it must be 100 degrees and getting hotter. The floodwater smells like when the toilet backs up, only worse, way worse. I'm surrounded by filthy brown water with nothing to drink. Nice going, you moron, you crud bucket, you dumb butt dipstick doodle brain. That's the rhyme my mom used to read to me. Or what's the rhyme that my mom used to read to me? Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. Something about being on a boat in the middle of the ocean and running out of drinking water. That's the sort of how it feels. So, wow. That's sort of how the attic feels. Like me and Bandy are shipwrecked on an ocean so hot the water is almost boiling. Like all the hottest days of the hottest summers have combined in that little attic. Sweat drips from the end of my nose and from my chin and from my scalp and from my hair and from my eyes. Hot, hot, hot. Unbearably, unbelievable hot. Bandy is panting so hard I'm afraid he might die of the heat. Did you know that dogs can't sweat? The only way we have to keep cool, the only way they have to keep cool is by panting. It doesn't work well as sweating, though. I know because somebody left a dog in the car at the mall last year, and when it got to be 100 degrees in the parking lot, the poor dog died. So it can happen. I'm not making it up. Finally, I get sick of waiting for the smelly water to go down. It hasn't budged an inch either way, and decide to crawl over the little vent at the end of the attic. Slats of sunlight streak through the vent, but maybe it'll be cooler over there. That's what I'm hoping, and at least Bandy can pant fresher air. Hey, Bandy, follow me, I urge him, my voice hoarse. Bandy doesn't want to move. That's when I really start to worry he might die if I don't do something to help. Taking the dog in my arms, I wiggle along the rafters on my back. The poor little guy is so overheated he can barely whimper, but seems to understand that I'm trying to help him. Peering through the slits in the vent, I can see what else? Lots and lots of water. Water, water everywhere, and all of it hot and stinky and disgusting. Sun glinting off the water feels like hot nails pressing into my forehead, but the air near the vent is slightly cooler. Or maybe that's just my imagination. It's hard to tell. Hey, Bandy, feeling any better? Keep panting, boy. It's good for you. My mouth is so dry I can hardly talk, but Bandy understands and squirms closer to the vent. There's a little air moving through the slats, but not enough to make much of a difference. Bandy watches me through one heavily lidded eye, like he can barely stay awake. He's not even bothering to pant very much. That can't be good. Hey, boy, stay awake, okay? Keep me company. That's your job, right? Exhausted by the heat, Bandy stops panting and closes his eyes. Do something, I urge myself. The idea that Bandy might not survive makes me scared and furious at the same time. I try yanking the wooden slats, but my sweaty hands keep slipping away. I'm so mad and frustrated I want to cry. Not that would make any difference, because my eyes are so full of salty sweat that it's hard to see. My mom is always saying, don't be mad, be smart. Think, what is the strongest part of the human body? Legs, Zane, legs. You know that. Use your brain and your feet. I swivel around on the boards and gather as much strength as I've got left. Then I kick the vent slats with both feet, hard as I can. The slat cracks. I never knew breaking wood could sound so good. 3 more kicks and all the slats are cleared from the vent. Right away, I feel slightly cooler air flowing into the attic. I position Bandy so his head is sticking out of the open vent and he perks up a little bit, his pink tongue hanging down. They say dogs don't smile, but I swear that little dog was smiling at me. In a few minutes, he's even got enough strength to bark. After all the flooding, the water becomes perfectly still, like a dirty mirror. And the reflection are me and Bandy looking down from the open vent to the surface of the water just below. Has it gone down at all? Maybe. Or is that just wishful thinking? What's he barking at? From this angle, the only things clearly visible are the peaks of other roofs sticking above the water and floating branches and hunks of junk that might be parts of ripped-apart houses and that terrible hot reflection of the sun, burning like a blazing white fire in the water. And far away, in silhouette against the sunlight, something gliding by. Might be a boat. Might be people in the boat, one big, one small. It's there for a moment, way beyond the roofs, and then gone, swallowed up by the blazing sun. I try to shout, but my throat is so dry and raw that nothing comes out. I croak pathetically a little, help, help, and it sounds more like a whisper than a shout. No one could hear me. Certainly not that far away. But Bandy keeps barking, regular as clockwork. And I finally get so tired of trying to shout, trying to make my voice work, that I fall asleep. Or maybe I pass out. In my dream, I'm back in my room in New Hampshire and the air feels like molten syrup. Syrup so hot and heavy that I can't move. My mom is in the next room, but she can't hear me because the shout is deep inside me and it won't come out. I try panting like a dog, but that doesn't work because my tongue is so dry it feels like a crispy slice of fried bacon. Somewhere, far, far away, a dog is barking. Hey! Yo, boy! Hey! Wake up! My eyelids are sticky, but I manage to crack them open. There, in the opening, holding the edges of the vent with both hands, is a skinny black girl with dark eyes and wild hair. Chapter 11. Let's keep going. The big whoops. The girl with the wild hair says, "Hey, you stupid or what? Wasn't for this little dog, nobody'd know you were in there." I try to answer back, but my words get stuck in my throat. Another voice, much deeper, goes, "Don't mind Malvina. She was a little wasp that keep on stinging." My eyes slowly come into focus, sharper focus. A battered green canoe floats in the water just below the vent opening. In one end, waving her thin arms, is the girl with the big eyes and the wild hair. About my age, but smaller than me, and wicked skinny. In the other, keeping balance with a paddle, sits a calm-looking, light-skinned black man with chunky black-framed glasses and scrawny dreads poking out from under a straw top hat. Like the Mad Hatter kind of hat. The kind with a curvy brim. There's a pink feather in the headband, sticking up like an exclamation point. "That was Malvina, heard the dog," the man explains in a rumbling musical voice. "That child's got ears like a bat." "I ain't no bat," she protests, folding her arms across her skinny chest. "All I mean, darlings, you got good ears," he explains. "Bats can hear a pin drop." "Ain't no darling neither. He smiles and shakes his head, as if to say, "See what I have to put up with?" But in a way that makes me think he doesn't mind. "Best get you down," he suggests, paddling the canoe alongside the building. "Must be hot enough in there to boil your brain." Getting into the canoe proves to be difficult. I back out through the vent with my legs kicking in the air. Bandy barks and whines and licks my hands like he's worried he'll be left behind. Strong hands grab a hold of my feet and guide me down into as the deep voice of the man in the funny hat tells me to keep calm. "You're doing fine. Now there, you good." All of a sudden, I'm crouched in the middle of the tippy canoe, holding on for dear life. The skinny girl, Malvina, she's grinning at me, showing a gap in her teeth. "Don't fall in," she teases, full of mischief. "The water's got snakes." "Snakes!" She nods happily, as if snakes in the water is her idea of a good time. "Don't worry about no snakes," says the man in the funny hat. "All you got to do is stay in the boat." "Ain't a boat," Malvina says. "This is a canoe." The man shrugs and says, "Young lady, happy to point out any mistake." Bandy is barking like mad, wanting to follow me into the canoe. The thing is now, I'm sitting down, holding on to the sides. I'm worried that reaching for the dog will tip us over. The idea of snakes, even snakes I can't see, has me spooked. The man in the hat seems to understand and goes, Let me think what we can do." He's trying to maneuver the canoe alongside the edge of the roof when all of a sudden Bandy gives a mighty yelp of frustration and launches himself through the air. The little dog hits me square in the chest and I catch him. Then we're tipping over. Me and Bandy and the girl and the man with the hat, we all splash backwards into the water as the canoe slips out from under us. Bandy, totally freaked, climbs onto my head, pushing me into that dark, snaky water. When I come back up, coughing and spitting, I'm a little more scared than the dog because I can't see the girl. And all that shows of the man with the rumbly voice is the funny top hat with the pink feather bobbing in the water like a toy. That's the end of chapter 11. Woo! It's getting good, guys. Getting good. Stay tuned for chapter 12.